first blood of the entire tournament this series. They had the fastest average game time out of all teams in attendance. They also had the largest kill lead in a World Final series. The records they have are absolutely astounding. Most team kills, highest assists. They've had the highest team KDA. We just want to spend some time celebrating Samsung White. Let's pull up some of those stats that we have just highlighted and maybe start with, Monte Cristo, Samsung White. They lived up to the hype. Dare I say it, for the first time?
Well, not for the first time. Well, I suppose they weren't. They weren't hyped up initially, but I mean, these stats are just ridiculous. Like back in the days of Champions Spring, they kind of came up and then never reached that peak again. So yes, I'll go with you.
Since they've had hype.
Since they've had hype.
He'll agree with you, but grudgingly.
Sounds like Monte Cristo. Yeah.
All 5 players lead the role in KDA. It helps when you've got a 15-2 overall record, of course. But Freak, care to chime in a little bit more on the team holistically?
Yeah, I mean, overall, this is a interesting team stylistically. I think every team has their own style. It's their instinctive play, how they all play together. This is an early game team. They play aggressively. They look to win all their lanes. Dandy looks for openings all the time. His team is well set up to support him in this endeavor. Mata has some of the best warding ever, and look,
like fans.
And they're all great at interacting with their fans, of course.
You know what? He's a world champion. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
And none of the rest of us are allowed on camera unless we're talking.
And calling them an early game team almost gives them a little discredit. It's not like they fall apart late game. They're just incredibly broken early game. Like, they just destroy people early game, but late game, they're still obviously world class. They can take 30-minute, 35-minute team fights and just take the game.
I feel like this is one of those teams where they are their own worst enemy actually applies, and it's actually truthful. If you look back at the tournament, they finished, 15-2? Basically had 2 losses and a whole lot of wins, and both those losses came to at their own hand, picking no wave clear. Yes, their enemies exploited that. Yes, their enemies played that well. No discredit to that, but they dug themselves a hole, and once they realized they've been beaten once, they put that fire back in there, and they immediately close out that next game in a convincing fashion.
Right, both those losses were after they're 2-0 up in a best of 5, and they're like, all right, I think we can take it easy in this one. And then go, whoa, sorry, just kidding, let's try again.
Yeah, I think there's something to say when a team's losses are always really close, and they kind of pick themselves into a hole, and all of their wins are crushing wins. So when I see a team, for example, like lose horribly and win with huge leads, I think they're inconsistent. When I see a team lose by really tiny margins and win by huge margins, I say, oh, they just had a couple bad, kind of unlucky games.
No team, I think, ever on the world stage has made their opponents look as inferior as Samsung White has done to their opponents throughout the course of this World Championship.
Yeah, and if we go back to and talk about SK Telecom T1K last year, they were a team that actually started quite slow. I mean, losing initially to OMG. Meanwhile, in this tournament, Samsung White came out, with guns blazing, took their group without even a loss, and we kind of just saw them get even better from there. So SKTK, a little more of a hiccup, but I think White has been more dominant than last year throughout this tournament.
I feel the same. I definitely feel the same. I think let's start to wrap up our talk about Samsung White the same way we started it. Talk about some of the individual players, maybe guys that stand out for each of us individually. Freak, who's your standout player from White, if you can pick one?
Yeah, my standout is Looper. I talked about him. I jumped at the chance to get to talk about him in the pregame show. He's amazing. Highest KD at Worlds for a top laner. That is a rare sight, and he's done it. That is how damn good Looper is. His teleport plays you talked about at the very beginning of the tournament, Monty, they're very good. He brought in a bunch of new champions, 9 unique ones played. Still, he does have 1 death now on Kassadin, I suppose, but unkilled on Akali, incredible Kassadin play, bringing out assassins, things you don't expect him to play. Even his Singed was good despite having 1 loss here, and he's a fun player to watch. He breaks open what you think of the normal picks. Says, here's how I'm going to do it instead. Great player overall. For like a year and a quarter as a pro.
You touched on that teleport point, and I really need to reiterate that. The zero hesitation on his teleports is what makes him the best, because he will just, every time one of his teammates shouts, help, he'll TP, assess the situation, cancel him at the last second if he has to, or just come out with a beautiful counter kill, 2 counter kills. He did that in the last game as well. Looper is just such a solid player.
And I must emphasize, the fact that he has the highest KDA top lane is historically the lane that gets screwed over the most. In 2v1s, you don't get support to ward for you as mid does. Generally, the jungler is not going to hold your hand top lane and ward for you as much as the jungler will ward for mid and bottom, because the jungler should generally be in the mid side area. The fact that Looper can do this with almost little to no help and potentially getting screwed over by the enemy jungler all the time, it's just ridiculous how good this guy is.
While playing champions like Cass and Akali who can't do anything pre-6, and it's like, yeah, no, it's fine.
He just teleports bottom, he gets a double kill.
Yeah, whatever, YOLO.
Finals. You talked a lot about junglers. Dandy, Come on, hit me up. What do you like? What do you dislike about him as in the jungle?
Oh, wow. Like, I can't sing enough praises about Dandy, but I think the biggest thing is that he adapts to every situation. He's always aggressive, so he doesn't just, like, see a situation he's uncomfortable with and say, okay, I'm just going to play defensive this time. He always finds a way to play aggressive and make the first move. And like I was saying before, Samsung White creates opportunity, and Dandy's generally the one to do that. He goes to the enemy jungler, he deep wards, he says, okay, if their enemy jungler is not on this side of the jungle, then I can dive your mid lane. And he just does it. He always is 2 to 3 steps ahead of the enemy jungler, and that's why he just like babies them around and slaps them in the face like every single game.
Yeah, interesting stat there. Part of 11 First Bloods, played 5 unique champions. His Rengar is undisputedly the strongest in the world. That Game 4 of that series demonstrates it. And White were banning out Rengar and Lee Sin that series.
Right, and remember too, 11 First Bloods, but they only played, what, 16 games?
Yeah,
17 games. That's still pretty darn impressive.
Yeah.
And before we move on, I just want to highlight that the synergy between Danny and Mata is the reason they were actually both so far ahead in the running for getting MVP here, because sure, you can give it to Mata, you can kind of give it to Danny. Actually, you should give it to both at the same time, because their timing on their vision control is so good. If you've ever played for support and you've tried to team up with your jungle, you will meet up, and one always waits for the other. They don't. They arrive at the exact same time, go into that jungle, place their wards with no double warding, always the right ping course. It's just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I like how you actually talk about the synergy between Dandy and Mata, because actually we all get pulled for our MVP of the tournament. I initially said Looper because I'm fanboying over him the whole time.
Looper too.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then they were like, okay, well, Looper didn't win. Dandy and Mata got a tie. And I'm like, all right. I guess I'll go with Mata. It's like, still a tie between Dandy and Mata. Can you guys please change your votes up somewhat? These guys are hand in hand as like the big, like, crushing people of the team. And I mean, it shows over and over again how good they are.
Yeah, it really does. Mata in particular is one of the most diverse supports, I think. Regardless of the situation or the team comp, he always seems to have the same incredible impact. We will actually be having an interview with him shortly as the guys are getting set up. Maybe Crepo, share some more thoughts on Mata, and just, I know, let me see if I can paraphrase you correctly. You don't suggest not buying Frost Queen's claim to Mata. You simply ask for his permission to be taught. Am I saying that properly?
See, okay, you can criticize builds all you want, but I mean, when Mata does it, he must have a good reason, and he's clearly shown that he's just ahead of like all the supports in the world, and it's so much fun to see. Occasionally, as a pro player, you will see people do things that are like outside of your range of expectations, outside of your knowledge, and it's fun to actually be schooled and be educated by somebody this good at the game, and it's been such a joy to watch him. He made 0 mistakes almost. Like, if he makes a mistake, he'll recover beautifully. He's just one of the world's best players, and he's definitely the best in his role.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I do believe that interview is ready, so we're going to send it over to the stage where Sharks is standing by with one of our world champions, Mata.
Thank you very much, guys. I am indeed joined by Samsung White support and this year's World Champion MVP as well, Mata. Yeah, first up, congratulations on winning and also winning this awesome trophy for the MVP right here. Now, traditionally, teams that have done so good at World Championships have not been able to stay on top. You put up such a great game here. How do you keep that going into next year? How do you keep being the best team in the world?
마타 선수 우선 우승한 거 축하드리고 이 트로피 얻으신 거 너무 축하드리고요. 여태까지 항상 올해 시즌 롤드컵 우승팀들은 다음 해에 잘 못했어요. 어떻게 마타 선수는 내년에도 어떻게 이 전력을 유지할 생각이신지?
저는 오늘이 지나고 나서 당장 내일부터 지금 메타에 적응하고 싶고요. 그리고 다음 시즌 목표를 일단 롤드컵 진출로 잡고 싶어요.
Starting from tomorrow, I want to practice at the current patch and the current meta, and so our goal is now to play at next year's Worlds.
How much room do you realistically think there is still to improve? Because some of the games we've seen from you have been near perfect.
지금까지 완벽한 경기력을 보여준 적이 많았는데 그래서 어떻게 더 나아질 만한, 더 실력이 늘 만한 아직 공간이 남아 있긴 한가요?
저는 개인적으로 그러니까 잘한다고 막 느껴지지가 않아. 그러니까 저희 팀이 물론 우승은 했지만 그러니까 팀 전체적으로 막 최고다 이런 생각이 안 들어가지고 아마 최고를 목표로 다음 시즌도 열심히 준비할 것 같아요.
Even though our team won the World Championship, I don't think our team is the best yet. So until we get that level as the best, we're going to keep on trying and practicing.
Well, that's actually very scary for the other teams out there. You guys did drop only one game here versus Starhorn Royal Club. Was there any worry in the team? What was going on in the team between games 3 and 4?
3경기에 로얄 클럽 팀한테 한 경기 졌을 때 어떻게 팀원들 사이에 어떤 말이 오고 왔나요? 좀 걱정을 많이 했었는지.
그러니까 좀 망골드 이상 차이 날 때 분리할 때 제가 그래도 한타 할만하다고 해가지고 근데 막상 한타를 해가지고 저희가 이겨가지고 저희도 깜짝 놀랐지만 그래도 아쉽게 마지막 한타에서 져가지고 좀 더 많이 아쉽네요.
So even when we were behind 10k gold, I told my teammates that we can still win this team fight, and we actually did. It really surprised us, but eventually we did lose. So I think it was a very close. I think it could have been much closer, but yeah, there are a lot of sad thoughts.
Well, in the end, it's a very happy thought. You guys are the world champions. And actually, throughout the weeks that I've talked to you and I've seen you, I've never seen you so happy as actually right now when you were running towards the fans and right in our shot. Is that finally the release after all that hard work for so many months?
그동안 마타 선수를 봐왔을 때 되게 침착하고 매우 차분한 모습을 많이 보여줬었는데 방금 전에 마타 선수가 저기 이제 팬들 사이로 이제 뛰어다니면서 악수하는 모습을 봤어요. 이제 어떻게 이제 우승하니까 이게 마타 선수의 참 모습인지.
그러니까 방송을 봤을 때 항상 좀 부럽더라고요. 이렇게 막 팬분들과 소통하는 게. 그래서 이번에 한번 다가가 봤는데 막상 그 손 내밀기 전까지는 좀 무안했거든요. 근데 막상 손을 내미니까 정말 진짜 행복한 것 같아요. 좀. 네.
So I always envied players who were really close to their fans. So when I was approaching my fans and I was like leaning my hand out, at first it felt really awkward. But then when my fans grabbed my hand, it felt really good and I was really happy. It was great.
Yeah, it actually looked like a fantastic moment. Another fantastic moment. You said you went to watch football here in the stadium before. Now you got to be on stage with Imagine Dragons as the fireworks were coming out. What was that like?
예전에 이 경기장에 축구 보러 왔다고 하신 적이 있는데 이번에는 실제 무대에서 경기를 하셨고 이매진 드래곤과 같이 공연할 때 무대에 있었고 막 폭죽 터지고 엄청난 광경이었어요. 그 소감이 어떤가요?
좀 정신이 없는 나머지 이매진 드래곤스의 노래는 못 들었지만 폭죽을 터지는 하늘을 봤어요. 근데 하늘이 엄청 오늘따라 예쁘게 보이더라고요.
So I didn't really actually hear the music that well. Like it was so like chaos up there. But I saw, with all the fireworks going on, I saw the sky and it was really beautiful and it was just a great moment.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Congratulations, and congratulations once more on being the MVP of the World Finals. Thank you very much, Mata. And now let's kick it back over to the guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, guys. It's fantastic hearing from Mata. And just before we highlight some of his stats, I do want to comment on something that Imp actually said in their post-game interview where he was, being thankful and super happy. The whole team was humble and thankful. But one line, props to Mata for covering up my mistakes. And it's something that we've been saying time and time again throughout this World Championship. Imp by himself is great. Imp with Mata is exceptional. And Double F, what do you think about something like that to comment, having that support? I know you feel strongly about playing with Afromu and how he helps you out in lane. Can you
not even just in lane, like I'm sure that Imp didn't just mean just in the game. There's so much meta, just like outside the game, attitude, mentality, just explaining what he thinks about the game and how you're going to play certain matchups, how you're going to play with the rest of your team. The fact that Imp is able to say, thanks for covering up for my mistakes is great. I think that's just the mark of a great team. Everyone covers each other's mistakes, and so then you end up looking like a perfect team when it's time for crunch time. But really, I don't think any of these players are perfect players of their role by any means. It's just they hide their weakness so well, it's impossible to just kind of get those cracks and figure out how to beat them.
Yeah, and Mata was just, a well-deserved MVP award. And just some of his stats, he was placing 1.62 wards per minute. I've got my little Samsung ward right here in honor of Mata, but you can see his last 3 champions as well. Just coming out with an over 10 KDA in a tournament with this many games is pretty spectacular. But for me, what Mata is the best at is the lane swap. And the lane swap is the most complex strategic thing in League of Legends. There's so many different branching outcomes. And the way that he can create pressure on other lanes in a lane swap situation and still balance out and get his top laner ahead is absolutely extraordinary.
And he does that while being part of a shot caller as well. So not only is he controlling what he's doing himself, he's probably guiding his teammates at the same time. If you look at his player cam, he is always talking in some way, shape, or form. So he's guiding his team to, okay, you're going to pull that lane right now. You're going to push that lane in a minute. I will be there. We're going to meet up and somehow get these wards deep in the jungle. Danny, you come over here. Danny's probably asking Mata to come as well. And it's having played that, having attempted that, and having failed so many times at it, it's really beautiful to see how well and how clean they're executing that. It's almost... you don't see any mistakes coming out of the early games in those lane swaps, except when they maybe get brawled or they get skirmished. But from like a strategic point of view, it is always awesome to see them play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about one last player, the only member of the team who was not here last year. The mid laner that I like to say, you know, no one expected to dominate. He was the mid laner that Samsung White needed. They definitely deserved him. I mean, from the moment he stepped into the role replacing Dade, it just seems like White sort of accelerated and did a great job.
Yeah, it worked out really well. It was a very smart role swap if you go back last year roughly to do that. And yeah, he is this consistent, well-performing mid lane machine who works in the entity that is Samsung White. Pushes his lane up, comes and joins the roams. He's almost always first out of his lane to go make plays elsewhere. And look, if you leave him to his own devices, he will solo kill you in lane. He will make the big flashy plays himself. And coming into this tournament, I had a really brief discussion with you off camera about like is Dandy or Pawn the better player, and I was suggesting that it was Pawn because his champion pool is so varied, because his styles of play are so numerous that he can fit any hole he wants. You heard him say that in the interview. He just tries really hard, focuses on what he needs to do for his team to win, and I think he's a really good embodiment of that. That he fits whatever mold is there, and it always seems to work.
I want to question the panel because there was a slightly hypey question from Jun on stage saying, right, you know, coming into this tournament, Pawn got a lot of hype for taking down Faker a couple times. Then after taking out Samsung Blue, he received Dade's jacket, absorbing all the powers that comes with it. Is Pawn in the running for best mid laner in the world only with his team or on his own merits? That's my question to the panel. Let's start with Double if you've got...
I think it was, first off, I just think it was more Dade trying to get his jacket to absorb some of Pawn's skill. And the other thing I want to say
he wanted it at the chair at Worlds.
Pawn and Dandy work really well together, I think, because they both adapt so well. Even in an interview, Pawn said, I know when to play aggressive, I know when to play defensive. It was kind of a bland answer, but it really does embody the way Pawn plays super well. This guy knows when he goes for solo kills, knows when to just get a CS lead and farm up on Orianna, for example, and knows when he needs to roam on like Fizz or Jace. He just has such a big variety of skills, and he seems to master it all. I've never seen him really mess up something spectacularly. He's so consistent, and he adapts to everything, so that's why he works well with Dandy.
Yeah, for me, just in terms of taking a player in isolation without his team, I still think Faker is going to be the best. But he's certainly in a conversation for top 3. And for me, it's been so fun to watch this guy because I remember back when he was on the amateur team, MIG Blitz, and he was in Champions, and he was kind of a one-trick pony or two-trick pony on mid Ezreal and Fizz, and didn't have a very deep champion pool. And to see him go from that point to where he is now in about a year and a half has been really, really fun for me to watch as a caster.
It's been really incredible, too. I was looking up on the player a lot more before this World Final, and his most played in Champions Summer was Orianna. About a third of his games over and over and over again, this utility mid laner. Very safe, very bland, but it's always going to be good. Hadn't played it at all until the very last game of Worlds. Oh, my Jace is banned out. I need another aggressive laner who can push all the time in roam. Guess I'll bring the Orianna back 17 games later. Like, doesn't have to rely on his most played from way back when. And again, it just shows this player can do whatever it takes to win time and time again.
Diversification is something this team has done exceptionally well. We did briefly talk about Imp, but I think he deserves a little bit more focus here from us. He picked up the second most kills for an 80 carry at 105. He very noticeably walked up to Uzi during earlier stages of the tournament and actually said to him, while transitioning to the stage, I think you're the best 80 carry in the world. And, you know, on stage said, I'm made better thanks to Mata, etc. Crepo, share some thoughts on Imp and how he's impressed you or stepped out or stood out in your mind.
I mean, Imp has been playing really solidly, and yeah, maybe he has to give up that throne to Uzi. We saw the solo kill in the 2v2 coming out of there, which is actually not a solo kill, it's a two-man kill, if I use the terms right. But Imp, he played well. He played the entire tournament. Good synergy with Mata, good synergy with the team. As an AD carry, sometimes you find yourself on another lane, like trying to farm or split push, and he's always in the right place at the right time. That actually shows when he plays Twitch. I think that highlights his game knowledge. He knows exactly when to stealth in, when to open up, and when you see that Twitch engage out of blue when nobody else expects it, that highlights for me a great AD carry because it shows that he understands exactly how far he can push it without getting caught.
Well, I'm gonna bounce off your word highlight in particular because I do feel that sort of summarizes Samsung. While we talked about the team, the individual players, they are your 2014 World Champions here, crowned in Seoul, Korea. Of course, there are the flags on the desk. Compliments, of course, of Samsung. And, you know, I agree. I think the guys deserve a round of applause. Cheers to everyone sticking out. I want to transition to something else that we have been doing and something we want to celebrate as well. Is everybody enjoying the show at home? Earlier we asked you on Twitter, what has been your favorite moment from Worlds? We also asked the analysts, and here's what some of you guys have been saying. First one's from @Sleepless2. C9 almost successfully pulling off the base rush versus Samsung Blue. I kicked my chair back while standing up and yelling at my monitor. Doublelift, I know you got something to say about this. Let's check the play first, and then you can chime in after it.
Gonna get one down. It's taking too low. They're gonna keep on this one. They're gonna go down.
Go for it. He's gonna go low. Oh, doing a jump. Go for the
What? They're up.
They're up. They're doing it. They're gonna dive in. The next is still out. They've cleared it.
It's just absolutely insane. It just goes to show we're like the West really isn't that far behind of Korea. Just random thought. Just that split-second decisions like that and really tiny things can change the outcome of games. I mean, that Nexus was probably 1 or 2 seconds off from dying, and the fact that Cloud9 was able to make that decision is impressive. The fact that Samsung Blue was able to recover is even more impressive.
I'm not so sure whether I would agree whether they're like so far behind Korea or not. I do think behind the second and third team of Korea, maybe. The average level of gameplay has gone up at Worlds for everybody, including the West. But if you look at how far White was ahead of everybody else, Korea managed to produce one team every year that's just on a completely next level.
Right, that's what I was going to say, is Korea's produced the single best team in the world 2 years running, but the rest of the field is definitely very close, and that's what I look forward to every single time of the World Championship is there that God team every time, and how does the rest of it play out? Because it's always close.
The thing that boggles my mind is you have Cloud9 that's probably the best performing Western team here at Worlds. You have Alliance go do a perfect game against Najin White Shield, then lose to Kaboom in a matchup that, truthfully, they shouldn't have lost. You know, on paper and statistically going in. The World Championship has just had tons and tons of surprises. Everybody stepping up at different times. And, you know, White, they're 3-0 against Blue. That was exceptional itself. Right, let's get the next tweet and we can carry on talking. This one comes from @Christina. Says, my favorite and most heart-striking moment was in Fnatic lost just 1 hit away from victory. Freak, I know you enjoyed those Nexus rushes as well. So let's see the play.
One of the big damage dealers, Going's gonna make it in. Peke's there. Here comes Cyanide as well on the end. They're focused on the Guardian Angel Lasagnas. Can Cyanide slip in as the spike runs this one?
God.
Will they be able to get it? Peke up from the Guardian Angel. A few more hits. Will this really happen?
No, they didn't do it! Oh my God!
They saved the Nexus!
And I can't believe how close that was. So many things could have gone differently, just as the Cloud9 one. And I think that game would have meant they would have guaranteed a spot in the quarterfinals. Maybe they would have taken OMG's spot. They would have been the team to take down Shield. Maybe they could have beaten Rockle. Maybe they could have gone back to their final. Like, so many what-ifs for, like, a Rumble to going somewhere else or one more auto attack. Like, it sums up how close Worlds was this year.
And also, if you step back and look at Fnatic, taking a game of Samsung Blue, also very surprising, extremely well executed, loads of single target spells, but then questionable play elsewhere. Fnatic traditionally doing so well in the international stage, but dropping the ball this year.
Well, but that's what makes, you know, in a tournament like this, is that's consistency. You're going to have teams drop a game. It's extraordinary to have a team go through a tournament like SK Telecom K did in Champions Winter last year without losing a game. Like, that is virtually unheard of. When we have these group stages, it's very easy to drop a game, and it almost never happens that somebody's able to go through the entire way undefeated. But that's what sets you apart. That ability to make the most of those opportunities and just be that consistently good team.
We'll have to see if some of the other Western squads can find some consistency before the next big international tournament. Right, our next tweet comes to it from @Zetsubo. He tweets, aside from the Kaboom win, Game 2 of Samsung White versus TSM with the Singed pick was a total surprise. Probably the one I enjoyed the most. Crepo, this was actually your favorite moment that we were talking about all fair. So let's pull a clip up and Crepo, you talk us through some of the actions and some of the things that really impressed you about this play in this game.
Yeah, basically, the beauty in this play was sometimes teams do something strategically that's just beyond my understanding. TSM actually initially invaded, and then White turned that around. Danny went all the way around, forced him off his blue buff, then went steal the enemy blue, went back to his blue buff. They somehow got teleport advantage as well. If you look at Dyrus, his TP is down right now. And then amazing, he feels forced to get his second buff here. Good patience by Danny, comes in, forces them out, and Looper, he's ready to TP in. And I never knew you could turn around and invade on your own buff into a 3 buff using a Singed who actually went to proxy farm before actually the invade came out. Just all these little factors coming together showed you why White is absolutely the best team-playing team in the world right now.
And while just at the end of the clip, we do see Pawn getting that 1v1 in Bjergsen. Only reason I want to highlight that is not only was the play and the teamwork fantastic, Pawn in an interview with Jat a little while ago was like, I really liked killing Bjergsen. He was very excited about that.
I mean, Crepo, you're kind of a jerk. That was my favorite play, too. I really enjoyed that just because what I love the most about watching League of Legends is when we have a team that can do something that you've never seen before. That's the hallmark of truly great players, of truly great teams. There's no way they've been in this situation before. They think creatively so well on the fly, and they pull out a big team fight win like that.
And that play actually made me like look back at Worlds last year and then think about like, is there a play like that? And yes, there was. There was SKT taking those 3 towers, 1 inhibitor with the elite spiraling, juggle, aggro, and just completely surprising the world. There was nobody that thought you could take 3 towers and an inhibitor at 14 minutes. Not on a professional level, definitely not on a world stage. And every year there has been like this one play that just boggles my mind strategically. How can you achieve that? How can you think about that? And it just makes me really happy that League has been playing at like such a high level.
And that's why I like the base races so much. There's almost no way you can prepare for them and be like, okay, yeah, so in these exact situations we will base race. It's all instinct. It's all feel. It's all saying, well, okay, so if we use Braum's shield, I think we can block Twitch damage. And yeah, and you just like hope that you guess properly. And we see how close these situations come because of pure intuition, which is amazing to watch.
Yeah, Doublelift, what is your favorite clip? I know you submitted some thoughts going forward in terms of it. I'll help remind you. Sahorn Royal Club versus OMG.
Right.
10K gold down. Let's get that clip on your
There was
screen.
an impossible comeback that I was actually, during the game, said was impossible. Sahorn Royal Club versus OMG. It was like a 10,000 gold deficit. And I was thinking, wow, how ridiculous would it be if Sahorn was able to win this? They lost. Like, they just straight up lost. You can't come back from a 10K gold deficit. And right here, if we can just roll the clip, it's just insane that they're playing this far up on the map when they're this far down in gold. I actually lied. It's a 14,000 gold deficit, and they just initiate on a tier 2 tower. Like, who dives aggressively when not only are you outnumbered, but you're down like 13,000 gold, and they managed to come back just from this single play alone.
And the fact that Instinct managed to somehow survive that, like going down to 1% and then back up, is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, Fiddle's one of the first champions I ever started playing, and it's fun to see him played better than I've ever seen him played before. It was great. Speaking of champions playing better than I've ever seen him before, I want to talk about Uzi's Twitch. His series against EDG was a series where Double and I were like, all right, Uzi's the best AD carry in the world. That's undeniable anymore. If we can pull that clip up, he gets a quadra kill against Edward Gaiman to keep them alive, basically. And he just manages to find a way to turn this fight around. Back jukes a hook, doesn't quite dodge it, but his team is built around protecting him. The Janna shields are on point. And the big hallmark of Uzi, the way I can tell it's Uzi playing, is he flashes in for kills for like an auto attack. Like, there's not even extra CC he can provide. His W is on cooldown, but he's like, it's enough. I could chase him down. And he's always right.
Mostly right, up until the finals. Manages to work out, of course, but no, you are right. I'm being unfair.
Talk about his decision-making.
Uzi played phenomenally, and the number of times you see him flashing skill shots to survive and secure more kills on Tristana for resets is mind-blowing.
I just want to see which 4 friends Uzi will bring to Worlds next year.
Yeah,
pick me.
The double AD carry team. Well, you know, for me, since Crepo stole mine, one of the things that I really enjoyed wasn't necessarily a flashy play, but it was the Akali lane swap by Looper on Samsung White against Samsung Blue. And why it's so impressive is that's an extraordinary difficult champion to play in a lane swap situation, so you have to get this Akali some kills early. And the way they do that and the setup that they've got here, coming into the bottom side of the jungle, where they actually manage to make it work, is pretty awesome. And I guess we're not actually going to see any kills right there. Here we go. We're going to see a dragon.
The highlights, yeah.
It's
the highlight
of Looper's marathon.
It's my favorite part of League of Legends, walking around the jungle and out-rotating your opponent without any kills whatsoever.
I mean, this is the cool thing about his play around Akali. I think actually Akali is a little bit more level-based than gold-based. You can see this by looking at her builds. They're usually very utility-focused. She doesn't need items to crush, and then shows up and crushes.
And I guess the whole point of that is just illustrating that despite Looper not being in lane getting CS, they still find ways to keep him relevant. Get the dragon, teleport down, get the double kill.
Yeah, at that point, he had kept up it well enough in CS, and that's really a display of Samsung White's patience in these lane swap scenarios. They waited for that kind of multi-stealth composition to unveil, and then there was no answer really from Samsung Blue.
I actually really love pocket picks, and when Looper first pulled out Akali and cast it in top lane, I was like, that's probably not going to work. They're probably going to lose, because how much could they possibly have practiced with these little pocket picks? And he just crushes. He does extremely well. And then looking at Insect, Fiddlesticks, Pantheon, Rammus in the finals, those things win you games. When you're just that confident and your team trusts in you, then you can just make those plays happen. It's just insane to watch.
So yeah, Monty, he referenced the Mata roaming in the lane swap. He referenced Danny, how he plays it. He referenced how Looper plays it. And what I like the most about White is that they don't play their lane swap the same every time. If you look back, say half a year ago, we had the 4v0 meta coming out in NA, and literally every game started the same way. 2 towers, and then we'll start the game. But White finds a way to basically read the game, say, okay, this is what we need today. This is what we're going to do. We're going to fast push that tower. We're going to freeze that wave. We're going to roam to the other side of the map. We're going to 4-man deny somebody off a turret. And they use all those different strategies in exactly the right cases, and they rarely, if ever, get behind from a lane swap. And that highlights a really good strategical team.
Yeah, and Double F, I want to bounce off what you said about the pocket picks. And my read on this as well is Samsung White are one of the few teams who actually react to and look at the metagame properly. The metagame is what everyone else is playing. It's up to you to play what you want, knowing everyone else plays these 4 champions in these 5 roles, and saying, yes, when you play Maokai, I will play Singed. I don't cast spells in lane, I don't give you sap magic, so I'll out-sustain you and out-damage you. Wonderful pick, makes a whole lot of sense. You expect Maokai to come through. Akali against Kayle is just a very good counterpick matchup. Knows a champion will come through by his 2 major opponents, the 2 Korean top laners he would be facing against, were both Kayle players, has Akali ready. Down the line, these guys have prepared these types of champions that work in these types of scenarios. The Rammus and Pantheon that we saw from Insect in this finals work very well against ward control because they both bypass wards by either lane ganking or skyfalling. They're reacting to the way they expect the game to play in front of them, have things ready for it, and that's why they're practiced. It's beautiful.
It really, really is. Guys, thank you so much. And, thank you to everybody who wrote in. If you're not already, be sure to follow us on Twitter. We are at LOL Esports. Keep the conversation going. Use #Worlds. Celebrate our world champions and your favorite moments. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an incredible journey. We would like to extend a special thank you to the cities that have graciously hosted us throughout Worlds. Taipei, Singapore, Busan, and of course, Seoul. You guys have provided the setting for an amazing experience that will soon not be forgotten. And to all the fans who've turned up, made the trip, cheered, supported their teams like these diehards behind us, thank you. None of us would be here without you. None of it would be possible without the love, the support, and the passion that you guys show all year long. That concludes our coverage here from Seoul. Once again, a special thank you to all of our guest analysts on behalf of the casters and the rest of the live broadcast crew. Thank you guys for watching. Good night, GG, and we'll see you soon.
And thank you, Quick Chow.
Thank you.
American team into the quarterfinals. Can anyone stop Samsung White? A few more hits. Will this really happen? Big save, the Nexus. And that's going to be the game. Kaboom! They flip the fuse, and I can't believe it, D-Man. What the hell just happened? This is for Kaboom. This is for Kaboom. Kaboom. Yeah! Every hook, like I said, heat-seeking coming out of Mata. What can they ban? What can they do? TSM has to think about game 2 already. Go for the Nexus Cloud Nine. They're up. They're coming. They're going to dive in. The Nexus is alive. No! They cleared it. Samsung Blue. Oh! They dive on him. Triple kill for Uzi. Royal Club doing the hard way. OMG have done it.
Enemies in game, but brothers outside of it.
Samsung White finally defeats Samsung Blue. Star Home Royal Club moves through to the 2014 World Championship Final.
teams are loading in, and the first World Championship game is about to go live. But they do have Pawn coming up. What a shot! It's amazing to see because it is nearly flawless.
He's gonna let it go! The splash over! Who is he? Will get it! He's gonna go towards it! And Samsung White are the 2014 World Champion!